I'm going to play with some games tonight, and hopefully there'll be triggers for you. This first one is called Suspend, and in some ways it might remind you of Jenga, but it's a little different, and there are different levels that you can play, beginning, intermediate, and advanced. And you can kind of play it by yourself. Of course, it's much more fun to play with someone else. But it comes in this little tube, the whole game. I'll just twist that lightly. And it's a balancing game. And all of the pieces come inside of here. In some ways they look like squiggly pickup sticks. But it's about hanging things and balancing things. So I'm going to play that with you, and you can play with it with 1 to 4 players. And it comes with this little base, this wooden base, as you can see, and then these little metal rods plug into the base to balance it. But everything's at a little bit of an angle, so that, and this actually is supposed to have a rod and then a wooden piece that holds it, this one here, and then this piece goes above that so that it actually is quite a bit higher. But I wanted to keep it up close for the camera, so I just put the top piece in a little hole in the base, and it keeps it at an angle to keep it trickier. So you each divvy out the pieces, and then in one of the versions you can roll the dice, and the dice has different colors on it, and each of the balancing pieces have different colors. So here's the orange one. You can see it has kind of a silicone ending on it, which you can use for balancing, so it's kind of fun, and it also gives you your color. This is one of the longer pieces, and you can see how it has little bends in it that go different directions. And I'm not getting out all of the pieces, but here's the black one. It's the smallest, so I'm showing you the biggest and smallest piece. This one is the longest, so if I were to roll orange, then I would place that on there, and it's pretty easy to balance one that's symmetrical. But some of them have one divot this way and one this way, and that makes it tricky. And when people are hanging, let's say the next person drew black or rolled black, so then you have to be a little more careful where you put it, and you can't put where there's another one, so I would not be able to do that. You can only place one per length or per bend. So I'm going to place one right there and hope that it doesn't all fall. And the idea, depending on the game you play, is that you want to get rid of all of your pieces. So everybody divvies them out at the beginning, and then whoever gets rid of theirs first wins. And if you roll a color that you've already used all yours of, then you'd have to take that color of somebody else's. And then once you get rid of all the pieces, you are the winner. Or if you put one on and it all falls off, or some of them fall off, if only a few fall off, those become your pieces. If all of them fall off, then you lost the game. So we had a little bit of fun with that this Christmas. I'll just tap on the bottom for a moment. So that's Suspend. I'll just put some of these pieces over here. And then the next game I have many I've had it for many, many years. And it's called Tangos. Probably several of you know Tangos. We'll see. But it's a fun game. I got it when my son was really little. And again, it's one that you can play by yourself or with people. And generally 2 people is easiest. But it has a nice texture on the cover of the case, so I'm going to play with that for a little bit. The letters are raised also, plastic. It's one of those geometric games where there are little shapes and you're given a card with a picture on it. And you have to somehow use all the shapes that you have to make the picture. And sometimes you'll think, oh, I've got it. And it's fun if you're racing someone. But you think, oh, I've got it. And then you look and you realize you've got a piece missing, so you didn't put them together right. And at first, I think it's quite challenging. And then over time, your brain starts to know how the pieces go together, and you find it's a little bit faster. But it's a great game. Simple one. I remember I got it years ago for a bed and breakfast that I went to when I was teaching in New York, and my son was fairly small, and I was worried he would get bored of this bed and breakfast, so I bought this game so that we would have something to do. It was fun. All right, I'm going to take the top off if I can figure out how to do that quietly enough. That wasn't too bad. And there you can see are the cards. And there's a shape on both sides of the card, as you can see. And then the solution to it is on the back. So there's the solution to that one, as you can see. And so if you're playing with a really young person, you can just let them look at the actual solution and try to build that, because for a young mind, that's even challenging. And then the answer to this one is on the bottom of the reverse side. So it's a really nice, simple, fun game. So now I'll show you the pieces. And the way it works is once you take out the pieces and the cards, then this sets in and holds it so it covers the answer to the other one, and you can just look at that while you're putting yours together. When I was in the game store over the holidays, they had an electronic version of it that was kind of cool. But I just thought, oh, it makes it so much more complicated than it needs to be. So it's funny how we think that it's better if it's made into an electronic version. All right, I'm just going to pull out the pieces and then I'll put the pieces away. Let's see, maybe I'll separate them. So they've got 2 color sets so that you can keep track of yours and somebody else's. Black and kind of a red maroon. And they've got a little bit of texture on them as well, so I'll kind of play with a couple of these. I had both my son here for the holidays, and I had a friend come visit, and my friend left today, and I just find I miss people too much. And yet I was ready to get the house back to a routine and get it all cleaned up and, start eating my own healthy food again and just cook for myself and all that. Sometimes it's nice to get back to routine, but I do have a tendency to miss people. And I'm not overly excited to go back to work tomorrow. I wish I were. I'm just going to slide these pieces in, hopefully. Let's see, I'll put that where you can see it. Down here has a diagram of how the pieces go in. You can't really see it, but there's a kind of an embossed or raised diagram so that if you get mixed up, you can figure out how to put them. This piece is the most interesting piece to me. Mentally, it can take on so many different shapes and work so many ways, and it's really easy to get confused when you're working with that piece in the game. Now I'll put the red on top. If I can get that one to fit in. He doesn't want to go in there, does he? Oh, I did it. Nope, that's right. There we go. Okay. You can see those little pieces in there. All right. And now I'll do the red. So this is Tangos. It's a fun game. Good for spatial awareness. See if this last piece will go in easily or not. Yep, that was very easy. Okay, and then I'm going to put the cards back in here. So it's just a really neat little easy case. And slide the lid on. You can take it with you wherever you go. It's very simple. And I think you can get extra cards or probably look up more designs online if you run out. And the last thing I have to play with tonight is a Buddha board. I'm sure you've seen them in little shops. And that was another little surprise gift that one of those things I would never buy for myself, but was fun to have someone purchase for me, so I got my own. I'll probably have to take a break to get water for the Buddha board, but I'll pull it up here in the meantime. Put this piece away real quick. Still got some of the suspend pieces out here. I'll just see if I can move them out of the way. Okay, so here is the Buddha board. And it's just one of those pieces. My friend played with it quite a bit over the holiday. Let's see. I'll get that in the camera. You can see it looks like someone meditating, maybe holding a little lotus blossom, or maybe their hands are together, I don't know. But we're going to pull it out. And you're not supposed to touch the surface with your fingers if possible, because the oils can affect the fabric on there. So I'm going to pull out all the parts. This is the little plastic well, and it has divots in it to put both the Buddha board and the water pen or water brush. So I'm going to pull that out. No, that wasn't too loud. And I'm going to move the box out of the way. And then I'm going to take a break here and put some water into the tray so that I can play with it. So just water. What's fun is when it first goes on, it's kind of light gray, and then it gets a little darker. And if I knew how to do characters then I could play with those, but I don't know how, as you can see. But it's fun to play with a little bit. And then it dries and disappears. So what's fun about that is it gives you total permission. It gives you permission to play and to get it wrong. I watched a little Bob Ross. In fact, I think it was last night was the last time my friend and I did a little Bob Ross work painting, and it was super fun. He was just such a kind, or at least his energy, his personality seemed just so kind, and really helps you just feel, again, permission to play and to not worry about it if yours doesn't look like his. But we had little 2-inch by 2-inch canvas blocks, teeny tiny, and of course he's working on a giant canvas, so our detail was kind of ridiculous, but maybe I'll show you some of those another time. It was still fun to play with. So I'll just play here a little bit, and then I will bid you good night. Wonder if that's bright enough for you to see. All right, there you go. Buddha board, fun to play with. And hopefully you are asleep by now. And if you are asleep by now, then you didn't have to look at this mess that I've made of this Buddha board. Okay, good night. Thanks for stopping by.